to Doozer shop. It's been a while since I did a video, but I'm still working on the Gorton 9J, and I got the YAxis gib and table and all the other hardware associated with it put back together. And I got the cleaned out the YAxis gibs, the gib, and got everything cleaned, put back together. But I'm having maybe an issue, I don't know, with the power feed. Let me take a handheld and go over and we'll show you what I see on the Gorton 9J. All right, here we go. On walkabout in Doozer's shop. Okay, got the Gorton 9J, and I got the table, as I said, put back together. And I want to show you the power feed unit. Let me begin over here. The spindle power down feed has a power feed, not exactly like a Bridgeport. Excuse the can of PB Blaster. It's got a separate motor and 4 speeds and the controls for up and down and the hand wheel, and of course your pop stop settings to shut it off up and down. The X and Y, let me get back, trip over stuff and whatnot. Okay, the X and Y have this feed box, and you can see there's a shaft going horizontally that puts the power feed up into the table. And what I found is, let me kind of point, okay, this is a 3-speed lever, and this, I guess I'd call it like a Norton style, is a 4-speed lever. But what I did is I took the motor off. I want to show you on the other side what I got going on with this. There's a motor that feeds this gearbox clean through the other side of the knee. Alright, let me back you out here. Okay, that's the motor, and it's like a pancake motor maybe. And there is the housing hole where it goes. Okay, this hand wheel is the elevation for the knee, and it's not a power knee, but it's a power X and Y. And interesting, you can see in there, there's like a, that's the gearbox. It's like a Lovejoy 3-fingered coupling. And there's one on the motor. But you can kind of see, I pulled this off, this motor off, just to kind of, there's some broken off, well, you can see there's a broken off bolt there, and there's a broken off bolt there. The bottom two were fine, and there's dowel pins, but yeah, something's up with that. So, and what I noticed, I can turn this. Oh boy, it's really hard to turn. Yeah, it's kind of hard to turn. If I go the other way, it gets really easy, and it turns clockwise. Oh, and then it gets hard again. Okay, and it's hard again. And let me see here. Then it gets easy. It's still easy. I think then it gets hard again. So something's up, and this spins clockwise, so I'm spinning it because I checked when it was running. That spins clockwise. Man, I don't know if you can see in there. I need a, let me help. We get a flashlight. Let me see if I get it, darn. Where's my flashlight? Here it is. Alright. So there's the motor, the coupling. There is the other half. And that's what I'm turning. Maybe I can kind of show you inside there. That's the gear for the knee. And advantage of a really small camera. Okay. So there's the elevation gear for the knee. Okay, and see way in the back, there is the little gear, the bevel gear is the output of the gearbox for the Y-axis, the in-out. And the other gear, crown gear, that bevel gear goes up, and this is like the bottom of the table. This is for the Y-axis, the in-out. And that little gear, the bevel gear, there's a key sheared in there, or a roll pin. I'm assuming it's a key, because that collar spins on the end when the gearbox is rotating, but that the little gear is stationary, and I can spin both of those with my hand, and they spin free. So that's why the Y-axis was not working. The X-axis worked fine, but that's done with that shaft that maybe you saw in the previous shot that transfers through the gears to the long axis, the table axis, the X-axis. So something's going on in that little gear there. I think it's a key sheared, but that's kind of a good observation of how to fix my problem. But like I say, there's the knee elevation here. But over here, there you go. The input shaft, it's just a wee bit hard to turn, and I want to know why. So I'm going to take this cover off the gearbox just to see what's going on. Yeah, I'm kind of zoom me out here. I'm trying to do a steady. This is all inside the knee. There's a little hole in the bottom. See, there's a hole. I guess it's just a weep hole or a casting hole. See this, I'm going to get a shot. This whole trough, banging the flashlight, this whole trough is full of oil. But I don't think it's oil from the gearbox because it's got its own reservoir. I think this is just drips from the seal here. And this whole area where I'm shining the flashlight, I don't know if it's supposed to be a reservoir, but there's like at least a quart or two of oil in there. There's no drain, but it's interesting. But I know that this whole gearbox assembly, you can kind of see the red part is the knee casting, and the darker, you know, gray part is the casting of the gearbox. So it's kind of interesting what we got going on here, but this does not turn freely enough by hand. I think there's like a KM nut on a bearing or something that's getting tight. But I'm going to pull it out and see. You know, let me back you up. I know, Doozer's handheld shop here, shop cam. Go back around, kicking the shop back. I know you guys love the handheld. It makes you want to throw up. All right, so shut the flashlight off. So that top shaft is what goes for the X-axis table feed, and you see where these Gitz cups are and these two little end shafty thing bearings. There's a gear train in there that goes vertical in this little part of the casting, and that's for the table. And that works fine. But what I'm going to do is pull the cover off this box. Let me stand up again and show you. So what has to happen is that there's some bevel gears in there, and I'm going to take that shaft off. Look at that bronze cover. It's contoured to the bottom of that gear case. Kind of neat. So I'm going to pull that shaft out. I'm assuming there's a couple gears in there, and you can see there's dowel pins on this cover. So I'm going to pull this whole cover off. Kind of zoom you out here, and look inside there. The oil level is only as high as that Gitz cup, and it's right at the top. I overfilled it to just, you know, stop getting oil. Oil start overflowing, but so there's new oil in it, and something's still tight. So I'm just kind of making this video to show everybody with a Gorton 9J what's going on. So that's that. Got my this is kind of cool. This collar is threaded, and the lead screw is threaded. There's a 5/16 set screw there, and it bears on the adjusting threads. And I know you can put little brass little brass puck in there. What I did is I poured some lead in there. I took some BB shot from a pellet rifle, and I poured some lead in there, so the set screw bears on a lead pad instead of the threads directly. So that was all fixed up. And of course, let me get you down again. I know. Yeah, that's the one gib screw that was, you know, the gib wasn't cut out enough, milled out enough for the screw, and the screw was a little bent and eccentric, so that's all fixed. Show you around. All right. There's the Y-axis. Gib screw and the gib, and this is all cleaned out, fixed up, and there's nothing that was wrong with it. The gib had perfect bearing. You can see the scrapings were still there. I don't know if you can get an angle. You can see the scrapings on the underneath of the dovetail. But this is just all cleaned out. I cleaned everything down. Make sure there's no grit, grease, grime. I pushed a whole bunch of blue rags through there, soaked in lacquer thinner, and I, you know, pushed them through, blew it out the air hose because I didn't take the saddle off the knee. But these posts, there's one there, there's one in the background, are for like those jig bore measuring rod troughs, and there's a stop rod there for putting the trough's not there any longer. I don't know where it is. Never got it with the machine, but it's something you can measure with a jig bore. With this, I think, is what that is. Either that, I've seen pictures of that, and actually I think there's also provisions. See, I got the control for the Y-axis power feed taken off. It's in the parts washer because there's a control rod. So I think maybe some stop, limit stop thingies go in there too or something. So we'll see what, I can rig something else up when I get this. I think that's what happened is the stop pieces, like on the X-axis, this is the control, and in the T-slot is supposed to go little stoppies for this to trip dogs. That's the word I'm seeking, trip dogs for that. So I'm going to make some trip dogs so this never, you know, left unattended would blow its axis and strip the key or the gear or the safety pin. But something happened with this axis. The same thingy thing goes, the control lever goes here, but something was missing here. So I want to make something to mount for, you know, it's always going to trip the dogs off on the power feed of the Y-axis. So, but anyways, I just wanted to make this video to kind of show you what I'm up against here with my power feed stuff, and everything is looking pretty well. I just got to get into this. I just think the motor, it spins it fine, but I think there's too much drag on that little input shaft to the gearbox. So that's kind of what I'm up against. Oh, this is kind of cool. Well, I'm on my knees here. So this is the lock for the gib on the X-axis, and I think this is a hole in a dowel pin, and a threaded hole in a dowel pin for another trough for those jig boring, to hold the jig bore gauge blocks, Joe blocks, what have you. But anyways, so this bears, there's a little piece in there, and it bears on the gib strip. It's actually cut at a 50-degree angle because that's the angle of the gib. So this can lock the X-axis, but you know what? I can put a 3/8 handle in here with the appropriate 50-degree little stub piece, and I can put a lock there. Even though it's meant for, I think, something to hold gauge blocks or Joe blocks, I can put a lock there, and I can put a lock there. So I can have 3 locks on the X-axis, 1, 2, and 3, and I might make those up. Just because it's nice to have a tight lock, and the table saddle is so long. I might do that in there and there. Even though it's not made for it, you can shine a flashlight in there, and you can kind of see. I'm not going to now, but you can see the back side of the gib. So that's cool, little addition. But for now, I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on the Gorton 9J, what I'm up against. I'll post a follow-up video. Doozer shop.